Hello, everybody. Our Parsha of Terumah begins a series of 5 parshiot till the end of Sefer Shmot, in which the details of building the Mishkan and all that applies to it are enumerated. In fact, many people have a tendency to view the parshiot of Terumah Tetzaveh and then Vayakel and Pekude in particular to be cut and paste carbon copies each of the other. But in fact, there are subtle differences between them, which all say Darshani. One wonders about said differentiations. Furthermore, we are aware that the Torah juxtaposes the instructions regarding the building of the Mishkan with the seemingly independent law of keeping Shabbos in order to instruct us that Shmirat Shabbat is docha and supersedes the mitzvah of building the Mishkan. The Kli Yakar makes an observation that is quite interesting. It appears in Parshat Vayakel. When Hashem commands Moshe in our Parsha regarding the building of the Mishkan, he says, V'yasu li mikdash v'shachanti b'tocham, and then comes the enumeration of all of the details of building the Mishkan, until finally, in Parshat Ki Tisa, we are told, after the Torah finishes up with the laws of the Kiyar, the oil of anointment, the Shemen HaMishcha, the Ketoret, and then finally we are told, Ach et Shabbatotai Tishmoru, the law of keeping Shabbos. However, when Moshe relates these very same laws to Bnei Yisrael and gives instruction regarding the building of the Mishkan, we are told at the very outset, Sheshet Yamim Te'aseh Melacha, Uvayom HaShvi'i Yeh Lachem Kodesh. And then, after the instructions regarding keeping Shabbos, we are given the details of the building of the Mishkan. The Kli Yakar wonders, why is it that Hashem begins with the details of the Mishkan and then appends the laws of Shabbos, whereas Moshe Rabbeinu starts with the laws of Shabbos, appending to those the requirements of building the Mishkan. And the Kli Yakar answers that God wanted to render honor to Bnei Yisrael. In the words of the Kli Yakar, HaMishkan Moreh Kulo al Kvod Yisrael. The whole idea of the Mishkan represents honorifics for Am Yisrael, that God chose Tzimtzum from his place in the heavens above to find a location to call his own. And where was that? In the midst of the Jewish encampment. And furthermore, the building of the Mishkan and God's presence, V'shachanti b'tocham, suggests forgiveness for the horrific sin of the Egel HaZahav. All of this to bestow honor upon Am Yisrael. And therefore, God's instructions to Moshe begin with the Mishkan, and only afterwards does he talk about Shabbos. Moshe Rabbeinu wanted to do exactly the opposite, to focus on the honor and glory of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Again, in the words of the Kli Yakar, HaShabbat ein bo ki'im kevod Hashem yitbarach. Shabbos is but an honor of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Lahorot ki hu yitbarach chidesh olamo. It is testimony to God's having created and then continuously sustaining the world. So Moshe wanted honor to Hashem. What we see from this is a mutual love relationship between the Jewish people and HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Hashem wanting to focus on our honor while we focus on his. And this is not the only incidence of it. We know that, for example, in our tefillin, we read about the mitzvah of Avas Hashem, of Kabbalat Ol Malchut Shamayim, of keeping Hashem's mitzvot, all to render honor to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. The Gemara in Brachos relates that Hashem Kivyachol also wears tefillin, and the Gemara queries, what's written in God's tefillin? What's on his parchment? And the answer that the Gemara gives is, Umi ki amcha Yisrael, Goy echad ba'aretz, which we cite in the Shmona Esrei of Shabbat Mincha. In God's tefillin, the praise is not of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. It is to show the singular nature and the praise coming to Am Yisrael. Again, a sign of a mutual love relationship. And lastly, we have the appellation for the holiday of Geula in Nisan. The Torah never refers to what we call Pesach by that name, Chag HaPesach. When the Torah talks about Chag HaPesach, it's referring to Erev Pesach, when the Korban Pesach was brought. The holiday of Pesach, or Passover, the 7 and in Chutz La'aretz 8-day festival, is referred to in the Torah as Chag HaMatzot. Yet we, Bnei Yisrael, when we talk about Passover, we refer to it as Pesach and not as Chag HaMatzot. And again, it's to show the mutual admiration and love that both parties have for one another. Hashem calls it Chag HaMatzot in his Torah because the matzah represents the loyalty of Am Yisrael to follow God out of Mitzrayim into freedom, rushing, not even waiting for their bread to bake thoroughly through. V'lo yachlu lehitmameya, and so they were left with matzah and not with fully risen bread. The matzah, Chag HaMatzot, is a praise towards Am Yisrael for their role in their redemption. But we call the holiday Pesach, Al Shum Shepasach HaKadosh Baruch Hu Al Batei Avotenu B'Mitzrayim. God, who saved Am Yisrael with the last of the plagues of Makat Bechorot, God who spared us, praising the Ribono Shel Olam. And to this very day, we hope that HaKadosh Baruch Hu continues to praise us in the heavens above as we exalt his holy name in the continuing, in the never-ending mutual love society relationship that we, the Am HaNivchar, have with the Ribono Shel Olam. Shabbat Shalom.